Ladies and gentlemen, it is no secret. Chess is a very difficult game. But what if I told you we could make it a little bit easier? In this video, I'm going to show you traps with the white pieces and the black pieces to finish a game of chess in 10 moves or less. You can use these tricks and traps to climb up the rating ladder and try to hit some of your goals, or you can use these as party tricks to play against your friends or loved ones for them to think that you're absolutely a chess genius. Now, before we get into it, I just want to give you a little bit of a disclaimer. Some of these traps are definitely get-rich-quick schemes in terms of chess elo, meaning that if you don't land the trap, you're probably not going to have a great position, but I've also given you options where if you don't land the trap, you still have a completely playable position, and there's a lot of possibilities for you. The video is split into multiple parts. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna begin this journey of quickly defeating opponents, embarrassing them, and feeling good about ourselves with the white pieces. We are Gotham subscriber, obviously. You're not subscribed yet, go ahead and click it. Versus unsuspecting noob. And the fastest way to win with the white pieces is to get your queen out early. That's just the truth. It's called the wayward queen attack. And it begins with the king's pawn. Now, beginners are probably sitting there, or like intermediate players like, hey, yeah, I know this. It's okay, we're just beginning. The point is that you need to get your queen and your bishop both out because together they can target this f7 square, the weak square, near the enemy king. It's the only thing, it's a pawn, it's the only thing protecting it is the king. Black will play e5, and now we can develop our queen out to h5. This is just the truth. I know it's very trivial. And I even have a video called Stopping Early Queen Attacks in Chess if you want to know how to deal with this, but this is truly the fastest way to win. Now, the absolute fastest way to win here is if black plays king to e7, which is just a horrible move, even though it's technically called the bomb cloud, and now white wins. You just take this pawn on e5, congratulations, it's checkmate. Most people will not be playing this with black, so that is not the real intro to the video. The real point of playing this queen is that you target the pawn, which is free, but also if the pawn gets protected, you play bishop c4, and together you team up with the queen and the bishop on the f7 square, and you can deliver a 4-move checkmate or the scholar's mate. Okay, great. So we're like a minute, 2 minutes into this video, now you know how to win in 4 moves. But the other trap of the wayward queen attack, if you bring the queen out so early, is that some people are going to be like, aha, well, I'm very smart. I can just kick your queen away with my pawn. But now this move comes with an extra punch because not just winning a pawn with check, you now will also win the rook. So this is just very, very basic, bare bones beginner stuff, wayward queen attack. You can also... and just so you understand what that sequence might look like, that's the point. And now you can obviously, you might lose a pawn with check, but you're up a rook. You get out, develop the rest of your pieces. You're up a rook on move 3 or 4. I can't really do much better than that. Well, actually I can, because you're going to be checkmating people that fast. The wayward queen attack, if they know what they're doing, you get to a certain point. It's obviously not that good, but it is a good starting point. You can also be creative and begin with the bishop first. So you're like, oh, I'm not actually going for the wayward queen attack. And then you go for the wayward queen attack. You can either go to h5. I like h5 because it packs 2 punches. This just packs 1. So queen on f3 only attacks the f7 square. It doesn't attack anything else. But queen h5 is the way you can try to win in 4 moves. You can also try to win in 3 moves. But it's a little bit, it's a little suspicious, all right? Everything else in this video will be a little bit more reputable. Let's go see how you can win in 5 or 6 moves with white. For a win in 5 or 6 moves, as I mentioned, this is going to be a little bit more reputable, and you're still beginning with the king's pawn. In many ways, playing gambits with white is a little bit more fun because once you play e4, you can play a gambit against many of black's major responses. Now, one of those major responses is the move c6, trying to build for the center with d5. This is known as the Caro-Kann defense. It's one of the most popular defenses on YouTube chess. It's one of the most popular defenses at beginner and intermediate level. I love it, so it's one of my favorite openings. And in general, what we're going to be doing is lining up this queen against the enemy king. Now, we're not going to do it right now. That's stupid. But what we are going to do is do it at some point. So, for example, you will play knight to c3. Black will play d5, and now you will put your queen on e2. The point is that if your opponent takes on e4, which is really the entire purpose of the Caro-Kann, is like when you see this, you are going to take, and that's where the rest of your game will develop. They will take. You will take back with the knight, and you have a very, very sneaky threat set up against this king. Some people here will want to put a knight on f6, but they won't like it because you can take it, and now they can't take back with the pawn in front of their king. They would have to do this. So what some people will do here is they will play the move knight to d7 to try to play this move and trade so they can get a knight there as a replacement. And now you land the devastating checkmate blow, knight d6 mate. This is one of the most savage checkmates in all of chess. It's a 5-move smothered mate. The king has absolutely no breathing room and can't take because of the pin. Now, this particular move order it's a little bit rare, which is why I've included this trap in a 5 or 6 move way. The 6 move way is more common than the 5 move way, but you might get both. And the 6 move way is like this. You will play a 2 knights Caro-Kann. So you will play knight f3 and knight c3. So this is another way that I recommend. Here there is pawn takes e4, obviously, right? This is the entire purpose, knight e4. And now, for example, if bishop f5 or knight f6, both targeting your knights, you will put the queen on e2, and now we see the point, right? Knight bd7, knight d6 mate. This is the 6-move version of this checkmate. There is also the 6-move version with bishop f5, queen to e2, knight d7, knight d6 mate. This I've also seen hundreds, if not thousands of times. I've seen this one more because people are like, well, why would I block my bishop, right? This is silly. Let me develop my bishop first, and when you protect, well, now I'm going to develop my knight because I'm so smart. Knight d6, checkmate. Queen on e2 in the Caro-Kann wins in 5 or 6 moves, and obviously there are alternatives. Obviously, if you play queen e2 here, they might play d4, right? And the knight can rotate back, and we get a game of chess. But as I said in the introduction, the point of this video is not to make a 90-minute segment on here's a gambit and here's everything else that can happen instead of you getting that trap and winning quickly. The Caro-Kann is a very potent trap, but I entrust you to fill in the gaps, okay? I'm kind of taking you there, but you're gonna have to fill in some of the gaps if you are unsuccessful in getting this trap. Okay, let's go to move 7. All right, this one is absolutely wonderful. I also don't know why I just said let's go to move 7. I should have said let's go to 7 moves, but whatever. That's the beauty of editing. I can make fun of my past self. So for this one, we're playing the Ponziani opening. We're still beginning with the king's pawn because it is the most aggressive way to play some gambits. e5 by black. We play knight f3, so now we're playing a little bit more standard, knight c6. This is a position that's been seen countless times. But here, rather than developing our bishop, like super grandmasters or playing the 4 knights or the Scotch, we play c3. Ponziani, not Pawn-Ziani, but P-O-N, Ponziani. And the point is that you want to put another pawn in the center of the board. So that is the purpose of the Ponziani opening. It stops things like bishop c5, because this is just great for white. You just want a big, healthy center with knight c3. And if you want to investigate the Ponziani on your own, you're more than welcome to do that. But I am here to show you a nasty trap. One of the main moves of the Ponziani is for black to play knight to f6. The other main line is pawn d5 immediately. This attacks the pawn in the center, but we're just going to ignore it. We're just going to continue with our Ponziani approach. We're 4 moves into the game. It's crazy because I just showed you an example of winning in literal checkmate in 4 moves, and here we're nowhere near that. So obviously black can take on d4. That's for you to investigate. There's some Ponziani ideas. You can check opening databases. But let's say black gobbles this pawn, which was their entire intention of moving the knight there, right? It's a free pawn. We are actually not going to take back. We are going to push to d5. This attacks the knight. Very logical move. Obviously, black can move the knight in a handful of different ways. So obviously, if black moves to the side of the board, we trap the knight with the move b4. That's just a very clean trapping of the knight. So this is actually a double layered trap. We play b4, the knight is completely stuck. It can't go here because it will be taken. But the knight will most likely rotate back this way, at which point we are ready to capture this center pawn. We've got a little knight trio here, and this is the devastating move, which is the most popular move on opening databases that play thousands of times, attacking our knight. The move d6 looks very reasonable because it looks like our knight has to leave. But this opens up the devastating move 7, bishop to b5, check. Now, opponent is in serious trouble because they can block the check on these 2 squares. If they block on d7, we smother them to death, and we are just picking up a queen. Kind of nice. However, if they block with the pawn, we take with our pawn. And now it's going to get even uglier Because if they take the knight, we have takes pawn, check, and we are making a new queen. So we're going to take a full rook and get a full queen out of nowhere. A completely winning position. If they take back on c6, then we take with a knight, and it's crushing. I mean, for example, knight takes, bishop takes. It's a triple fork. And believe it or not, the best move here is not to take the rook, because that would give up a full bishop. So instead, you come back and you take the knight. 3-0 versus 5-3. Which one is better, right? So 3-0, get a full knight. You are now up a pawn. You are now up a knight. And you are going to castle on the next move, or you're going to take that rook if they blunder it. And I know we're on move 12, but the winning knockout here happens on move 7 in the Ponziani with the move bishop to b5. So if you want to incorporate the Ponziani into your opening repertoire with 3c3, know this trap. If you don't get this trap, at least you still get a very big center, right? You can get your pieces behind those pawns. Big center always helps in a game of chess, but you have to know what to do against the two main lines, which are knight f6 and d5. But that's how you win a game of chess with the Ponziani in 7 moves. Let's go to move 8. This next one is one of the most powerful openings in all of chess, and actually my very first over-the-board tournament game that I played as a kid, I won with the fried liver trap. The fried liver also begins with the king's pawn, shocking, e5 by black, and knight f3, knight c6, but here you develop the bishop to c4. Now, you remember from the wayward queen section, this bishop is very powerful, targeting that weak square, and what we want to do here is we want to put the knight on g5 to attack the pawn along with the bishop. We can't do that because the queen blocks off that square, so that just doesn't work, which is why we need black to develop the knight to f6. It's very popular here for people to play the bishop to c5, at which point we can't do this, but there is a gambit here known as the Evans gambit, which is very strong. You can also go back to sort of playing in the style of the Ponziani, which is why you should watch this video chronologically to gain some ideas. But in this case, we're looking at knight f6, and now we go for knight g5, attacking the f7 square, trying to get a situation that looks like this, where we are just going to win big material. Knight f7 on its own is a big threat. The main line here for black does go pawn d5. There is also something known as the Traxler. I have videos on both of these. The Traxler is a counterattack to the fried liver. So if you're interested in all of that, you know where to find me. Just type in fried liver or Traxler, Gotham chess. You'll find it. However, most beginners at this point will play d5, not knowing that it's the main move because they think that you have to block. And after pawn takes, they will just take back, which is just very natural. Because now they're like, well, I'm attacking this, and this is blocked and protected, so I'm good. But now you detonate, knight takes f7 anyway. And they're like, I thought I stopped that. Wait, what? Huh? Now it's move 7. You have to play queen check. This attacks the knight and the king. So now both of those pieces are under attack. And in this position, the best move for black is actually to come forward, bravely defending the knight in the middle of the board. That's very rare for beginners. Nobody wants to bring their king up. And even here, white can continue to apply pressure with a move like knight c3, right? The bishop is targeting the knight, 3 pieces targeting this. Very scary position for black. My first tournament game went king g8. At which point, I took the knight, and it's checkmate. It's not exactly checkmate, because technically opponent can take, you take, and they can block, but it's mate. Their king is smothered. Every move follows everything else. So king g8 loses to bishop takes knight, and now you've won a chess game in 8 moves. Of course, they don't have to play king g8, which is why I'm here, right? At that point, you will just take back, and you will have a very big attack and be slightly better. But the point of this video is to give you the maximum in the minimum number of moves. So bishop takes d5, or you want to flex, queen takes d5, get a queen trade, and whatever they block with, it's a mate. It's an easy checkmate.